As many of you know, I have been following the issue of High River from the beginning, since June 2013. It's almost 2 years later, and we still don't have a lot of questions put forward answered. One of the men that has been doing a lot of the digging, I've been relying on him extensively from those early days, is Dennis Young, former researcher on Parliament Hill, a man that knows everything there is to know about firearms law in Canada. Dennis Young joins me now from Airdrie, Alberta. Dennis, you've got a piece up at CanadaFreePress.com right now that talks about being stymied by the RCMP. You're being shut down once again. Explain what's going on here.
Well, since the High River gun grab took place, and we found out about it on June 28th, 2013, I started asking questions, and I started filing access to information requests. And I filed 45 access to information requests with the federal government, mostly the RCMP, some with the Department of National Defense, and 8 FOIP requests, Freedom of Information requests with the Alberta government. And until recently, responses. Not complete responses. I've been filing complaints, 25 complaints with the Information Commissioner in Ottawa, complaining about missing records. But recently, in the last 5 weeks, I've received 3 blanket exemptions. Complete exemptions, not providing any documents, just saying the documents, the records have been exempted in their entirety.
All right, so let's walk people through what that means, because you and I are used to filing access to information requests. We're used to getting information back. Some of it is exempted, redacted, whatever word you want to use, because there's provisions within the law that certain things can be held back from the public view, sometimes for valid reasons, sometimes because the bureaucrats just don't want us to know. So they, instead of just saying, we'll give you all of these emails and memos and so on, but we need to hold back pages 44 and 45, they just said no to everything.
Yeah, like I'll give you one example. Like I've been waiting a year and 7 months for the copies of the notes that were taken by the RCMP officers when they seized guns in High River. Now, that's an inordinate amount of time anyways, but there was the RCMP access officer that was looking after this file told me that she was reviewing 2,458 pages of documents. Mm-hmm. So I expected, I don't know, 1,000 at least. And what we got was nothing, absolutely nothing. They just said that I'm not going to get any documents at all. So that's just one example. Another example was there was a Crown Counsel paper requested by the Assistant Commissioner of the RCMP, Marianne Ryan, at the behest of the Department of Justice, the Ministry of Justice in Alberta. And I wanted a copy of this Crown Counsel paper talking about the legal authorities that the RCMP had for for kicking in doors in High River. 754 doors to be exact, so that was the next one. I got a request or an answer saying that all of the records requested have been exempted in their entirety. So I'm not getting that. That was 10 months after I made the request, and then just what prompted me to write the column for Canada Free Press was the fact that we'd heard rumors that the RCMP had ripped pages out of their notebooks, which is against the RCMP Act, and that the RCMP officers, that were 169 of them apparently, that some of them had ripped the pages out of their notebooks. Now, there may be valid reasons for ripping the pages out of their notebooks. Maybe they gave them to the commission that was investigating the High River gun grab. Maybe they had to give them to their superior. I don't know. But most recently, I just got the response last week saying I'm not going to get any of those records or the reasons why they were ripped out of the RCMP's notebooks.
Now, you have been questioning the move by the Harper government to exempt the RCMP from a specific section of the Access to Information Act. I'm sure you have mixed feelings about this because they're exempting them from being found guilty of deleting the gun registry. But on the other hand, we know that there are problems with the Mounties, just like I've been documenting problems at the CBC with access to information. There does seem to be a double standard in the media. They're very interested in getting to the bottom of why the RCMP was not willing to give Bill Clinton his information on the gun registry. But there isn't a lot of media interest in the fact that, once again, you're stymied in trying to get to the bottom of the High River gun grab.
Well, exactly. As soon as this was raised in the media, that section of Bill C-59, I was very concerned because I was concerned that they were going to use the retroactive part of that law that's being debated in the House right now to deny me access to reasons why the RCMP used the long gun registry in High River during their seizure of guns. And we know for a fact that they used the long gun registry there 8 months after it was supposed to be destroyed. So I've recently filed more access requests asking for more specific information about the communications that went back and forth between Ottawa and High River regarding not only the retention of copies of the long gun registry that may have been kept in High River, but also the utilization of those documents.
Dennis, let me stop you there and ask you this question. What is it that convinces you that they had a copy of the gun registry as opposed to just knowing who the licensed gun owners were, where you've got a gun license, you're not necessarily a gun owner, but who has gun licenses because of CPIC, the Police Information Database? Why do you think that they were using an old copy of the registry rather than CPIC?
Well, during the town hall that was held in High River on September 5th, 2013, I met Don White. And Don and I and his wife Jane met with a lawyer regarding a possible class action lawsuit with respect to the unwarranted entries of 4,666 homes in High River and the seizure of private property. And during that discussion, Don raised the fact that when he went to pick up his 11 long guns that were trigger locked, laying on his bed, covered with a blanket, when he went to pick those long guns up from the High River detachment, the RCMP officer said to him, "But 2 of your guns aren't registered." And he said, "Of course they're not registered. I just bought those 2 guns." So here we are 8 months after the long gun registry is supposed to be destroyed, according to an act of parliament, and the constable in the High River detachment obviously knew that 2 of the long guns that Don White had weren't registered.
It's disturbing to say the least. And like I said, unfortunately, a lack of media interest in this side of the story, a lack of media interest in High River, period. I know that you are pushing for a judicial inquiry or a public inquiry. I'll just tell you, I'm not a fan of that route because I think it just wastes more time. It's more jaw-jawing. I'd like to see charges laid against those who gave the orders, those who did not stop officers that acted independently. I think we should just go that route rather than spending years more filing a report that a future government will just put on a shelf and let collect dust.
Well, if I had any hope that charges would be laid, I'd maybe back off that. But the trouble is that we're coming up in June to a statute of limitations for anybody to file claim against the people responsible for what happened in High River. So we don't have much time left to file claims against both levels of government that were both involved in making the decisions. Most importantly, the Alberta government officials that were ordering the RCMP and approving the RCMP's actions in High River.
Yeah, because as much as the RCMP is a federal force, in Alberta, they are contract police. contracted by the provincial government. They answer to the provincial government, not the feds.
That's exactly true. And I have documents now from Municipal Affairs through a FOIP complaint that I filed with the Information Commissioner here that shows that on the 21st of June, that's one day after the flood was declared, one day, the Municipal Affairs Emergency Management staff were in High River and condoning the searches of High River homes. It doesn't say they were condoning them kicking in doors, but they obviously knew what was going on and didn't stop it. So either it's a crime of commission or a crime of omission.
I know that there were recently evacuation orders given. The name of the town escapes me. I just thought of it now. People were sending me messages about it on the weekend. I haven't heard of doors being kicked down, so maybe we won't get what we're looking for in High River in terms of answers and justice, but maybe what we will get, Dennis, is that the Mounties will think twice about doing it again. Government officials will think twice about condoning this sort of thing again.
Well, I don't know how anybody, any person, any Mountie can start kicking in hundreds of doors without realizing that these are charter violations. These aren't just using some obscure authority under a municipal act against a provincial act that they can kick in, enter buildings, that they can use that authority to override the charter. And I've recently written a letter to Justice Minister McKay asking him that question, and I'm currently writing a letter to the new Alberta Justice Minister asking her the same question. We have to get answers to that question, otherwise the next state of emergency that's declared, the RCMP will implement the policy that they've already drafted that will protect them, will justify their actions that they took in High River, and they'll use it again and again. They used it in Slave Lake, and they'll used it in High River, and they'll use it again.
That is the worry, and that's why we'll stay vigilant. Dennis Young, thanks so much.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to keep working on this story.